Hey guys, and welcome to Inside Gears 3, or Gears 2013. We are going to be having a chat tonight about some of the moving forwards as we go into Judgment, coming out in about a month's time, and what that means for the competitive community, ACL, and you. A couple of things that we're going to start off with prior to that sort of point in the discussion. Um, In 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to have a final ACL Gears of War 3 tournament. It will be a 2-day tournament, so a Saturday and a Sunday. Dates are to be confirmed, and it will just be a good old way to finish up things as we finish off what was Gears 3. It will be 4 versus 4, random seeds, double elimination, and we will follow the regular rule set that we have been using for the past 12 months. Judgment. Judgment is going to be an interesting one. We have a lot going on, lots of things that we need to work on moving over the next couple of weeks. We've got a Judgment dedicated forum coming up. We've got a whole lot of team directories and side little events and announcements to make moving over the next 3 to 4 weeks as we get Judgment out. And then from there, we've got rule sets to test, game types to play, and ways to work out the best competitive mix that we can get to make sure the community thrives, grows, and expands moving forward through the year. We have got a few key things that we'd like to discuss this evening. Firstly, we'll be touching on the game types, so domination, team deathmatch, overrun, and free-for-all. A couple of the changes that have been made to the gameplay will be touched on. Stopping power, no downs but not out, and a few other little bits and pieces there. Moving into the competitive side of things, we will discuss what we are going to be needing to do, what the community is going to need to do, and how we can work as a whole to bring competitive Judgment into Australia, make it happen, and grow further from there. After this, we'll go through the community questions that have been asked on various channels, CG, Twitter, ACL, and we will go through each of those answers and make sure that we inform you with our plans and how we're planning to go from here on. We'll start off with some discussion of the game types. I will let Sam start off with his thoughts on how domination team deathmatch will potentially work and what this means moving away from the traditional single elimination game types that we've used for the previous 3 Gears titles.
Yep, sweet. Well, of course, we do have Domination as TDM, which sort of are the replacements for Execution and King of the Hill from Gears of War 3. Considering that the word around town is that there's only 4 maps for these 2 game types, we're considering an approach that I think Rogi brought up later on this afternoon, where we have the 4 maps played out, and then the 5th map, if it comes down to it, with the different game types. So then it's still sort of unique and it's playable at least. That's if there's no DLC, for example. Going specifically into Domination, I personally think it's a really great addition to the game. It adds a lot of teamwork capabilities into the game, considering that King of the Hill was sort of getting stagnant in the way that setups happened and the way the map played out in the metagame. So I think Domination will be able to provide an interesting touch to competitive. Now, for TDM, the one big difference since Gears 3 is the fact that you aren't subtracted lives when you die. You are given points when you get a kill. Now, this, of course, means that it'll be more fast-paced. The map will play out better. So this is definitely something that we want to try out for competitive Gears of War. Myksta, do you have any thoughts on Overrun and how it'll work for competitive?
Had to out of all the game modes, Overrun's not been my most favourite, but it's something we're gonna need to test out. It's I don't know the words to put it because you put me in on the spot right there, but Overrun we're gonna need to test it. We're gonna need to test if it can be 5v5 or 4v4, and we're also gonna need to test community feedback, all that. It's gonna be a bit of a harder process than TDM and Domination, to one get used to, in my opinion, and make it feasible. But we'll just have to wait and see until the game comes out and we can actually test that properly.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and bring my thoughts to the table. Domination, it's been around for years in Unreal and Call of Duty. Most people can view ample videos online and get a grasp of how the game type works. It's essentially King of the Hill with three hills or territories, as it could be called, and they are the points that you've got to capture. Essentially, each team gets points per hill or location captured, and that adds towards the collective total. One thing that's quite interesting with the way that the timers and the points work in Judgment and Domination is it isn't based on every second that you have hill time. There's a background clock that, say, every 2 or 3 seconds you get a point. This point is added on to every single hill, so it could potentially be both teams getting points at the exact same time, and that way, as the scores get closer to the goal, whether it be 200 or anything else, if the scores both get to 180, both teams have a hill each, they will both get a point every 2 to 3 seconds, and there won't be a point of where whichever team got the last hill first wins. It will be down to which team can break the other opponent's hill to take that lead. Each hill that you get will give you 1 point at each of these intervals, so you could potentially earn 3 points every 2 seconds. Game type, from what I've seen of various videos online and what people have relayed in terms of feedback, it looks to be reasonably fast-paced. Spawns, from the limited information that is available on offer, spawns seem to be a lot better than they were in King of the Hill. There's no more spawning half a meter away from the other team and getting destroyed in spawn protection. You no longer really have spawn trapping, and yeah, it seems to be quite a good little improvement to the King of the Hill that we've been going with. Team deathmatch, it's going to be interesting. I really liked the way Team deathmatch was set in Gears 3. It wasn't good for competitive, but it was an interesting twist to things. But going to the more traditional way of doing Team deathmatch, you get a goal that you've got to get points towards. Each kill represents a point. Can make things a bit more fast-paced. There's no use camping until potentially the very end. Even then, it's the better team should take control and win without having any camping or huge dramatic slowdowns. From what I've seen of the maps with Team Deathmatch, there are plenty of angles around to get ample crosses. There's little to no places that you can camp and set up. So things should flow nicely. The game shouldn't last for too long. And it should be a very, very good, fast game type to bring into the competitive mix. These, of course, I don't know how it's going to go. I am going to miss the single elimination execution that we've been using for the last pretty much 5-6 years. But this is how things are going. Things are evolving. We have to stop thinking about the past, stop thinking of Gears. Stop thinking it's Gears 1, 2, or 3. It's a brand new title, new developers putting it. It's just a way of moving forward, and they're trying something really new and adventurous, which could lead to really good things. Overrun. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I can see the theory behind the game type working competitively. There are so many possible ways that you can set up your team. You can have multiple medics. You could have more snipers who can get to higher areas on the map where no other enemies or no other players can get, except for the wretches on the other team. There's so many ways that you can change the game and change your setups, different strategies work on every different team. It's going to be an interesting approach to the game. I can see it being very popular for the casual audience, and I don't know if it will work for competitive play. especially because it doesn't have a spectator mode as of yet, so it possibly will just get completely ignored because of that, and how spectators need to they need to be able to watch the game for esports to grow. This isn't just for Gears, for everything. There needs to be a way for people to spectate and to share and put things on Twitch TV, for example, so people can learn and grow and get entertained by it, because that is ultimately what it is. Free for all, it's going to work well on all maps. I have huge faith that it will be a really fun game type. If we do get Judgment to LANs or for online tournaments, there will be free for all competitions. There'll be a way for each player to prove their own individual skills and strengths, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There will be no more dry patches at LAN where there's an hour between games. You'll be able to just jam free for all or take part in that competition to make sure things go well. Okay. Do either of you two have anything you'd like to add to that, or shall we move on to the gameplay changes?
I've got one thing to say about free for all. I'd sort of like to see it being used as a casual way of bringing players into the community, considering that we can pretty much get pugs started up for free for all matches, and they're pretty simple. They're a lot of fun. I can see that we could really use it as a good starting platform to bring in these new players. So we'll definitely be exploring that avenue as Judgment launches.
Right.
That's it from me.
Go. Myksta, you got anything, or you?
I just basically agree with what Durkaa just said about free for all. You can even hold sort of mini comps to sort of just practice and just sort of like we did earlier with just getting new players in and helping them grow. We can just do little free for all stuff like that. It's really useful.
Yo, sweet. I agree. I think it's definitely going to be a gateway to the competitive community. You get a chance to play with people, and yeah, it's going to be good fun. Gameplay changes. There are heaps of little subtle things, heaps of very hugely obvious changes that are interesting. I am a fan of a lot of it. Some of the stuff I'm a little bit skeptical on, but I can understand why they've done it, and some stuff I just don't quite understand. But that's okay. Firstly, we'll start with stopping power. It has been removed. It's going to change the way that we play the game hugely. It will create far faster gaming environment. People will be able to run, gun, do pretty much whatever they want, not be limited by movement. It will be just very much focused on, I want to get to this point, I will get hurt going from A to B, but I'm going to be able to get there, rather than I'm going to go over here and get lanced to a halt and get down. That's gone, which is going to be really good, really positive for the way that we play competitive Gears, the way our community can just based on our play styles. So it's going to be good. One big game to play change is the introduction of loadouts. We are going to be having multiple combinations of the ways that we can look at starting weapons for Gears. In Gears 3, we had the introduction of Retro Lancer, Hammerburst, Lancer, Nasher, or Sawn-Off as your starting weapons. You can change that mid-match, you can change that at any time. We chose to go with the Lancer Nasher setup, which worked for those games. For Gears 3, moving to Judgment, we now have the Snub Pistol as your permanent backup weapon. From there, you get to choose a loadout based on your frag grenades. So your grenades rather. You can choose frag grenades, incendiaries, ink, smoke, or the new stim grenade, which will give you a quick little heal. And you've got your primary, your primary weapon, whether it be the Lancer, the Hammerburst, the Retro, the Myksta, and I think I'm not forgetting anything there, which I suppose Nasher and Sawn-Off as well, which will add a lot of diversity. There'll be a lot of diversity to the way that we can approach competitive, and ideally those weapons, from what I've seen, look pretty balanced. There's pros and cons to using each weapon, which is going to hopefully offer a very, very, very diverse way that teams can run strategies, especially for, you can start off with the starting round. The start of the round you could run with just all Lancers. All Lancers, one dude with a Myksta, and that can be your way of getting the initial push and the control of the map. From there, when players die, you can come back with Nashes and other weapons to really rip up, get the kills, get the close quarter kills, and move forward from there, and then you can alter your weapons as you need to throughout the round. It should offer that flexibility, and as I said, from what I've seen of existing gameplay and things, the weapons look really balanced, and that's a huge improvement to the way that Gears 3 was, because Hammerburst and Retro were just retarded along with the Sawn-Off. And yeah, that's what I'll say about the loadouts. Sam, do you want to go over a couple of the other points that we've got noted down? Maybe, I don't know, the nades and, well, the quick throws, permanent reticle, and bits and pieces like that?
Yep, sweet. So the quick nades are, of course, pressing left bumper instead of TACCOM, and it'll throw your grenade that you've selected in your loadout. This is pretty weird. I'm not sure how the community will react to it. It's fundamentally different to how we've all been playing Gears for the last 6 or 7 years. So I expect a lot of people will be starting out and throwing their grenades at the floor at the very start. But eventually, I can see that it'll be a good thing, and that those quick nades will be a contributing factor to a faster paced gameplay. On to the permanent reticle. This is another interesting change. Of course, for any weapon, this is including snipers, which of course there's 3 of, being the Myksta breach shot and the long shot. It still appears on the screen. So snipers have no real meaning, I guess, to scope in at close range. So that means that if they do select the option of the Myksta as their starting weapon, and they go into the round, and it comes down to it that they have to do a close quarters engagement, they're not completely useless. And I really, really like this. Myksta, have you got any thoughts?
Haven't done that much research into the weapons themselves, but just the way, from what I have read, the way they've balanced them out, like the Retro and Sawn-Off coming into, from Gears 3 coming into Judgment, don't seem to be as OP, in a manner of speaking. The Sawn-Off has 2 shots, but you have to be closer. And the Retro isn't as powerful, in a way, but you know, other features I guess would maybe make up for that. From, I can't remember exactly what they said. So, but the new weapons look interesting. That reticle, a bit iffy depending on certain weapons, like the sniper. A lot of players are going to try just going for those no scopes, as for some weapons there might not even be a need to scope in. So we just have to. It's gonna be interesting. It's as I think Midnite mentioned earlier, it is a different game, so those weapons are, some features are just going to be completely different.
Yeah. Just to add on to that as well, for the quick throw grenades, in the previous Gears titles, if someone wanted to hard aim and get the little thing up that predicts exactly where the grenade is going to go, you'd have to get out of cover, hold left trigger. Whereas in Judgment, they can still stay in cover and line up this nade. So it goes exactly where they want 100% of the time. So that's either the option of pressing down left bumper and it'll just blindly throw it like it did in previous Gears titles, or holding it down and predict where it goes. So that plays really interestingly into the competitive side of things.
Okay, I'm going to go over a couple of the weapon balancing things and how they can be applied differently, and then we'll move further to how the community can get a bit more involved in Judgment in Gears 3 in the closing few weeks, and then moving forward from there. Okay, so basically what it looks as though Epic and People Can Fly have done is create those starting weapons to all have a dedicated role. They trialed this in Gears 2, Gears 1, they wanted a game that was campaign, they slapped on multiplayer without really thinking about it, and it worked. There was lots of bugs. Going back to it now, you can see the tremendous flaws, but it was a great game. Gears 2, they realized that they could make a really good multiplayer game, and that's where things went down. They wanted to create it into a game that they wanted it to be, rather than creating a game that players want. They tried to make it more rifle-based by incorporating adding the hammerburst as a starting weapon, but also allowing stopping power to be introduced. You can no longer run more because the idea was that you should stay in cover and use your lancer or your hammerburst, and that was not received too well by the community. They tweaked it going into Gears 3, introducing more rifles and another shotgun, and it was okay. They just screwed up the balancing. Judgment, it looks like they've hit it perfectly. The Lancer is now a mid to long range rifle. Close range, if you're hip firing in Gears 3, you could down someone who's with you with a shotgun in your grill without too much trouble. You get one shot on them, they slow down because of stopping power, then next, you've won. Gears Judgment looks as though the accuracy is a little bit worse blind firing. Despite there being a reticle, it seems as though there's a little bit more, I suppose your bullets spray a little bit more rather than being at the same spot, which is going to improve that, but it also does, in the back end, they've applied different rules in terms of how the game is designed. Bullets do more damage or less damage depending on which weapon you're using at what range. And that is going to hopefully make a really good, efficient balance. So as I said, the Lancer is medium to long range. The Hammerburst is designed to be long range, and the Retro is close. Those three rifles all have a very distinct role, and they will be used by different users. It's adding that into the mix as well. You've got the Myksta, that's a very long-range sniper, multiple shots. You've got to hit a body, or two body shots and a headshot, or two headshots to get the actual headshot kill. So it isn't ultra powerful. I can see it being very good in a situation where your team is very accurate as a whole, who works in a unit, much say Old Legacy. If you ran anywhere on a map, they would all be lancering you at the same time. You'd go down almost instantly. In Judgment, that wouldn't work because of stopping power and the way the Lancer does different damage. Throw someone in with a mark so they get a single shot off and that person goes down because their teamwork. The shotguns, the sawn-off has got another bullet. It does less damage than in Gears 3, and it has a similar sort of range and use to a Nasher. The biggest difference is that the spread is very wide and you can hit pretty much anyone on screen, but it's reasonably useless from the videos I've seen. It's not the same overpowered machine that it was in Gears 3. And what it looks like they've done, because of all these subtle changes that they've made, they have allowed us to, if you've got a retro and someone's far away with a Myksta, you will probably die. In the other role, if someone had a Myksta and you were up close to them with a retro, there would be almost no way that they would win. It is definitely possible, based on the rate of fire of the Myksta and just the way the retro does more damage at a close range. It's just, they balance nicely there. Same goes for all the other weapons. If you've got a shotgun close range, you should be able to beat every other weapon without any trouble. It's just a really nice way of balancing it. Of course, you've still got your pistol, but from what I've seen, pistol is not as strong. You can shoot it faster, but it does not do the same damage boost or damage amount. So in Gears 3 lately, as of recent, people have realized that if you've got a quick pistol finger, you can get kills super easy with it. In Judgment, it does not look like you can do that. And it's more of a, you shoot you shoot your shotgun, you shoot your Nasher at someone, get a couple of shots, they run away, you pull out your pistol to try and finish it off. But it's no longer I suppose a power play weapon. Okay. Anything that either of you guys want to add to that, or are you pretty happy with how that went?
I think you covered most of it. Yeah. Don't think I can add anything else to that.
All good.
Okay. Sorry that I'm the one talking so much, but that's all right. Cut in if you want to get involved. Okay. This is going to be an interesting bit. The community has, well, I suppose probably between June, July last year, we got our community to an all-time high. We had so many teams active on the ladders. We had so many players actively involved in playing matches and just being there, and it was absolutely fantastic. Epic kind of shot themselves in the foot by announcing Judgment when they did. It was around the times that Halo 4 and Black Ops 2 were coming out, and because everyone knew Judgment was there, the players that would normally go play Halo for a couple of weeks, then come back to Gears, didn't do that because they knew a new one was coming. They're going to play Halo and COD until March. When Gears is out, then they'll come back and give that a go. That is fine. As long as these people come back, it will be absolutely fine, but we need to do what we can as a collective community to make sure this happens, and there are a few things that are going to need to change, and there are going to be ways that you guys can all help Sam, Myksta, and I grow this community further and get this back to where we want to be. Couple of things. We need to be inviting and welcoming to all new members. Anyone that joins on, if they ask a silly question, don't shut them down, don't troll them, don't have a negative attitude or a negative welcome towards them. It's not worth it. If we are nice to them, if we're inviting, offer them help, get them to know the community, if we can get those people just to stay on for a match, or a couple of matches, get to know what competitive is like, then we can show them how much fun it is, how great it is to play competitively, and that can help us grow. So just attitudes, ways that people all view new players. That is pretty much the biggest key point that we need to be focusing on. From there, the community, I would love it if you guys would make content. Produce videos helping new players out, show trick spots on map, call outs, just ways to help new people come into the community and be involved. Well, it's fine if you don't want to. Not everyone has the facility to do so, having a capture card and then being able to upload it, and you might not have the confidence to do voiceovers or talking through things, and it isn't for everyone. If more people can just get involved with that side of thing, I've got a huge amount of things that I want people to help with, and I've taken down a whole lot of people that have put their names forward, and that's just how that's going to go. We're going to see some changes in staffing on the various sites. I suppose I can bring it up. CG, we're going to strip all staffing roles. We're going to have just the admins and a couple of the select moderators remaining. Everyone else is going to start from scratch. And this is to keep things fresh. We've got a new game. We need new attitudes, new people that are going to be helping out. Fresh blood, effectively. Myksta is going to be moving up to an admin role, and he'll be helping Sam, I, and Rogue out moving forward, and that's going to be an exciting opportunity for him. He does all the work without the rewards, and now the rewards are finally coming. On ACL, I am going to be working with Sam. Further still, we're pushing to get Gears onto the circuit. It's going to come down to how the game actually works and how the community embraces the changes that are coming. We really, really need community to not be negative towards the game or to complain about things, or just, we need a positive attitude. Gears 3 was absolutely fantastic. The first LAN we got, 8 teams? That was plenty. That was more than Halo at that stage, and it was great. Going into the Melbourne LAN, I wasn't there, but I think there was a similar number of teams, and it was great. More teams came after that. So many players LAN dodged. Teams could not make the effort. If you want ACL to pick up Gears Judgment, we need to show the support. We need to be attending all the online events. We need to be going to the LANs. We need to be taking up all the opportunities that they can potentially offer us, using that to show our support for them, and that will create a better community and competitive environment for us. So please, when any opportunities arise, put your hand up, get involved, and make it a better community and environment for us. Turbo ACL does, as a whole, confirm dates nice and early. EB Expo last year did have a very, very difficult time. We couldn't announce it until EB said we could, and it was short notice. So I apologize about that, but there were still lots of people that didn't end up going because they just had no excuse. People in Sydney didn't go because they just didn't want to, and didn't want to show their face. They didn't want to be seen by the community or whatnot. I don't know that question, Turbo. I don't know what is happening, or I know some things, but I can't say what is happening in terms of specific dates. They haven't all been locked in, and that's going to be coming in the future. I have rambled for a huge amount of time. Sam and Myksta, feel free to add your own thoughts to how we can improve the community if you want to. Otherwise, we will get straight into all the questions that everyone has asked. And yeah, feel free to take it over from here.
I think we're good. I think we've covered it all, and the rest of the questions that'll pop up will be in these community questions that we got lined up. So,
the only one
if you're fine with it, Myksta?
The only one I can think of is more the streaming aspect. We are looking. We want to make things more professional in a sense. We are looking to sort of pair off streamers and commentators. I've had a few people asking to try and stream, try help out, and ask help to set up. So I'll be trying to hit you guys up, commentators as well, that want to actually take it seriously, not just jump in and start bagging out people. That doesn't really work. If you actually want a serious go, we can try to do that as well, and we can try make that a better system that we already have, and try to be a bit more active in that sense as well. So that's the only thing I had to add.
Sweet.
Yeah. Also, on top of what Mike's is saying, is in 2013 with Judgment, we're definitely going to be upping our stream quality, not so much in resolution sense, but production quality, everything. We're going to pretty much aim for perfect streams every night, and possibly even daily streams if it's available and there's that many matches just being played. On to you, George.
Okay. Sweet. So, okay, I'm going to kick things off. There are lots of people worried about what's going to happen if Judgment fails. I think it's going to work. I can see huge potential. It just really comes down to how individual players embrace the change, if they view it as not being Gears and blah, blah, blah. What I would expect if Judgment does fail is we will roll back to Gears 3. It looks as though the Americans are going to be doing that. Well, potentially, otherwise Gears may die over there, but they're not very confident judgment is going to work, and we are always going to have to prepare for that in case it doesn't. Gears 3 will depend on who comes back. There will definitely still be some kind of online rounds and ladder or whatnot that will be there to support the players that stay there, but it won't be the same thriving community that we have seen over the course of 2012. It will, I expect, to be far more minimal, just core Gears fans that will stay. Okay, anyway, moving to some more questions. I don't know who asked these various questions, so I'm just going to read them out, and the various people that we have decided will answer. Okay, what do you think triggered the controversial changes to the basic metagame? This is Matt. Do you think it's a reaction to the growing popularity in other titles like COD, or an attempt to revitalize a game that they fear is becoming stagnant due to old school players disinclined to change and wanting the same product in each installment? This one's for Sam.
All right. First of all, sick question, Quad. I think it's sort of 50-50 between trying to get like COD and trying to revolutionize the game. If anything, I think Epic was sort of disheartened by the online following of Gears 3 after its launch. When you're going online and you see only 10,000 people playing your game worldwide, they sort of must have thought, we need to change something here. We need it to be able to have a more advanced metagame in the sense that it'll be replayable online and won't be the same thing every single match. I think that's been their main thing. If they can get that achieved, then I think that competitive would flow on top of it, and yeah, it would just work better off. That's my main thoughts.
Myksta, you got anything?
See, that Dirk actually said exactly what I was going to say. So I think we'll just jump on to the next one. But before we do, I just wanted to point out, if you do have any questions you want to ask us as well, remember to tweet us at GowersNZ, and we'll try to get through them after we answer the ones we have right in front of us now.
Cool. Adding to that, if you post questions in the stream, we will see them, but as you can see, it's rolling through quite quickly, so there's things that we may miss. Okay. If the rumored 4 maps are true, what type of series structure are we looking at? And even if more maps are released with DLC, what happens if we encounter similar DLC issues with LAN? This was briefly touched on before, but we'll get a better answer this time around.
Myksta, do you want to cover this?
I'll jump on board with that. Tongue-tied already. That's a great sign. But if we only have 4 maps for TDM domination, we can always start it in a way, still have our best of 5s, but use the same maps for both TDM and domination, so that we might have the second map being played again for the 5th map, just in a different game type. It all depends on how well these maps really work. And we also that's just TDM domination. That's not even including Overrun yet. We also have to test how Overrun will work, and if it will work together as a 4v4 game type. Anything you want to add to that, Durkaa?
For the second part of that question, with the maps released via DLC at LAN and the issues that were around that for Gears 3, we can't really handle it any other way. I guess what happened in Sydney, we got around it fine. There was pretty much no problems in Melbourne. And at AB Expo, that was stuff that was out of our control. So we'll be doing everything that we can do physically to make sure that these problems don't occur in future LANs if we do have them. But yeah, there's really not a lot we can do with the current gen consoles.
I also want to add to that, because I didn't even read that part of the question, so go me. But after the first and second LANs, we actually figured out the issues that happened with the DLC, so we're able to fix them a lot quicker, especially in Expo, and then even the AVT LAN, we were able to fix them up straight away. And I think the DLC issues, if there is any, for Judgment would be relatively the same, since it does sort of use the same system. That's all I got. Yeah.
That covers that perfectly. From everything that we've seen, there are 4 maps. It's going to be a tight. I suppose, as I think it was Simon pointed out a few months ago, that we should, well, it might have been him, compress the maps down, use a small, more focused group of maps. That gets what they want moving forward to this. I think it can definitely work with just 4 maps. There will be DLC because they want to make more money doing it that way, but 4 maps should be fine to work with, especially if we just rock 10 Deathmatch and Domination. If one of those game types doesn't work, then, well, that will be interesting. Outside of that, if someone asks why can't we do a best of 3, it is definitely possible to do a best of 3. But when you look at the games and realize each match lasts next to no time because they can go through really quick, I would imagine, being with the faster team deathmatch scoring and depending what set we put for domination, it can be a little quick. Matches can go before you blink. And if you think about the amount of teams that have gone 2 up and then had someone come back with effectively a 3-2 comeback, it just makes things so much more exciting having more maps. And it still leaves the dominant team a chance to win the first 3, take it out, and not have any issues with that. Okay. I kind of answered this one before, but I will go into it a little bit better. What does the community have to do on a general scale to show ACL we can be a self-sufficient community as opposed to a self-destructive one? As I said before, I'm not going to go into much detail of this. We need to support any events that ACL throw at us. If it's online, we need to be getting good numbers of attendees. We need to get people there playing. If they offer a LAN, especially LAN in their first one that they do, there won't be gears at the first LAN. If we can get it to their second one in later on this year, if we can get a good turnout from there, then we can continue support from that. It is essential that people make the effort for that first one. From there, it would of course be better to grow, but if we can get that or maintain about 90% of that number for any LANs after that, then we will be good to go. In regards to what you just posted there, Bev, that was accurate at our peak, but there still were several no-show teams and teams that weren't committing to it, and that needs to be there. We need to have sign-ups, confirmation. The teams that confirm need to be playing. Yeah, they need to be playing. And just to clarify, no tricks, by 90%, I mean if we get, say 20 teams at the first LAN, ideally we would like 18 at the next, at least, just to keep things going, rather than everyone putting all our eggs in one basket and then going off and doing their own thing after that. And Rogue, we are going to work on sooner announcements of LANs as soon as we can.
Just one thing, George.
Yes.
When George says 20 teams at LAN for the first one, that isn't like a golden number. We don't have to get to 20 teams for the first LAN for ACL to pick us up. It's just a general support. There's no magic number. Just like to clarify there.
Definitely not. Yeah. 20, I just did that because 90% of get 20 is easy to work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Without thinking. And yeah, as I said with the earlier announcements, I mean, LAN in April was announced a couple of weeks back. That still left pretty much a full 2 months for people to prepare for it. ACL have already said there is going to be one mid-year. If you keep that in mind now, you might have 4, 5, 6 months to get together a LAN fund. If Gears is not there, buy yourself something nice. Buy a PS4 or a Wii U or Pokemon X and Y on 3DS. Treat yourself. But think ahead. Don't just wait for the announcement, but plan ahead and say, there's going to be something that I might want to go to then. if I start saving now, you're ready to go if the announcement is delayed, rather than saying you only gave me 3 weeks notice. As with the EB Expo, we all pretty much knew it was happening in October. It could have, yeah. Either way, boom. Cool. Moving on from there. This is a fun
Before you go
question.
to the next one,
Okay.
next one, they're posting in the chat what would be a good attendance rate for
Oh, for the LAN?
for LANs. What would be a good attendance for LANs?
It's
Because in my opinion, it would have to be a little more at least than our Gears of War 3 LANs.
ideally the more, obviously, definitely the more people that we get, the better. I would be. It depends. It depends on how popular Judgment is. If we say had this LAN in April with ACR and it was Gears 3, based on the current community, I think that we should. I don't think it will necessarily happen, but we should potentially be able to. Yeah, I don't know, 8 teams, 6 to 8 teams for Gears 3 now. For Judgment, I would want more than that. We should be able to get. I'd be happy with 12 to 16. It's definitely doable. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't happen, and that should work. In terms of people saying they've got work and things like that, that is a really hard thing to get around. It depends on your employer. It depends on how your relationship is with your boss. For me, I usually just say, hey, I'm going away sometime in this period. It's looking like it's going to be, well, for this, I said April. I'm going away in April for a week. I will hand in my exact dates as soon as I confirm that. And they're fine with that. They don't have a problem. Most employers ask for at least 2 weeks leave notice, which I know it might be different in Australia, but that should be all good. And that's a perfectly good comment, Sam. Quit your jobs for Gears. Do what Sam does. Okay. I'm going to answer this next one because I don't know who. I think it was Matt as well. I don't know.
It's Matt.
Why is Myksta in the stream? As
Moral
I said,
support.
Myksta is a Gears admin. He is there.
Thanks for that notice, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't know that until
Um,
now.
Yeah. There's no particular reason why Rogue isn't in here, just that the graphic was pre-made for 3 people, and yeah, that's just how it was. He spends enough time on stream talking, so we thought we might get Myksta in, who's usually the quiet one. Okay. Will we see a lot more banned entities in the game, i.e. the boom, shield, or whatever else seems overpowered?
I guess I'll
For-
take this, yeah. Initially, I'd like to set out the rule set so we've got it as a Google Doc or something that can be updated pretty frequently, pretty easily, that's viewable in a public place. And as Judgment launches, each night or each couple nights, teams will go through cycles and they'll voice their opinions on what weapons are OP, what are underpowered, what needs to go where, sort of, so we can refine what we need to do to get a playable rule set. So I guess it's sort of hard to comment on whether we'll see more banned entities than comparable to Gears 3, I guess. So, yeah.
Adding to that, what I would like to do is we will be keeping things stock standard while we start our initial test, and we won't rule anything out until the get-go. But if things are going to be cut, ideally for me, based on videos and things online, there are a lot of weapons per map. I would prefer to just say eliminate the boom shield or eliminate a power weapon rather than swapping it out for something. It will ideally be a stock standard every map based thing, which should be a lot more manageable seeing as there is only a few maps to choose from in public. I would like, yeah, each map to either permanently swap the boom shield for something else or completely cut it. And that same goes for starting weapons. I would like all that to be stock standard. The one ban we were almost definitely putting in effect off the bat is the classic hammer burst, as it is DLC, a pre-order bonus. We don't know if everyone's going to be able to get it. And yeah. No tricks, that's not necessarily true. We may not go with what the Americans are doing. They seem to have an incredibly negative attitude towards this game currently. And I don't want to sit around waiting for them to drop the game and then us being in a negative place.
I also want
In
to point
saying
out,
that, though,
yeah, sorry.
In saying that, though, if they do support it and
Yeah.
there's a huge community, then we'll definitely look at going along with what they're doing or what the Europeans are doing.
I also want to
Yeah.
just bring up what Bear said in the chat, because that's what I was exactly going to say. They're not going to have a rule set straight away. It's going to take time to develop a solid rule set. At that time, we're going to have something that we're going to roll with in that time before we make a decision whether we have our own one or we follow the international standard.
Okay. If we do revert back to Gears 3, will we continue with how we're going now, or will we mix things up a bit? In terms of structure, ladders and leagues, they will continue on as normal. We will still have online rounds every now and then. The Gears community comp will probably go forward. We will have... that will be a very similar structure. Maps... We may cut some, we may add some. I personally want Slab gone so bad. I think it's a horrible addition to King of the Hill, and I don't think it's worth it being there.
I love Slab.
It's just me. From outside of that, it could be worth losing a few maps, or perhaps if we're going to have to move forward with Gears, weapon swaps. Since we're not going to have to worry about the general public trying to join, we can tweak things every now and then if need be. But we'll see how the game goes. I've got huge confidence that Judgment will work, but we need to wait and see how things go from there. On another note, that just popped into my... it's another question coming up. I'll leave it. The only things that matter to me are what will the main ladder be? Team Deathmatch, Domination, Overrun, question mark. Go for it, Myksta.
It all depends on what mode is successful or not. We can have, a TDM and a Domination in one ladder. Overrun could end up being its own separate ladder. And then, we might, if they all work well together, say Overrun can be 4v4 and TDM Domination is 4v4, then they could even be in the same ladder, which, could be one Overrun map, two TDM, two Domination. It could work like that. It all depends on how Overrun is going to go and how TDM and Domination are going to go, and if they can be mixed together. There could possibly be two ladders, one for Overrun, one for TDM Domination, if it's shown enough support. But as for what the main ladder will be, we just have to wait and see what's more feasible for everything.
Adding to that, pretty much Team Deathmatch, Domination, they're going to be ideally the cause. Overrun, we're going to work at, make sure we can either rule it out completely or use it. It needs to be tested. We need to get everyone's opinions and see how it actually plays out with competitive-based players rather than just casual gamers who test the game and post videos online. Sam, 4v4 or 5v5, what are we doing?
I'd say for 4v4 will be TDM and Domination, which will feed directly from Gears 3, so teams will be able to transition to that fine. If Overrun is viable on a competitive sense, we're not sure if it's 4v4 or 5v5. Of course, if we go 5v5, we can't have spectators. That cuts down on the streams. You know, it's really just detrimental to the community as a whole. So, yeah, another thing that's worth noting on the overrun side of things is just one map is pretty long. I think it's an average of something like 40, 45 minutes. So if we include that in a best of 5 series with 2 dominations and then 2 team death matches, like we're looking at a fairly big best of 5 series. Whether or not we can customize that so we can cut down the overrun section, I'm not sure. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Adding to that, there's no spectate mode in Overrun as discovered by people who have acquired the game early, which will severely hinder its online competitive nature. And if we go to LAN, we will not be able to use 5v5. There won't be an adequate setup. And can you imagine getting one dude to come over just to be on your Overrun team when every other game type is 4 versus 4? Saying that, it is very possible we will have a 5v5 Overrun ladder, which will be based on a best of 3 or even just a single match. We'll see what happens from there. I've already answered what weapons and grenades are going to be allowed. Pretty much off the bat, everything. Everything but the classic hammer burst will be allowed in competitive gameplay. Okay.
I just want to point out, we did have a question. What's going to happen if 4v4 is pretty average and 5v5 is far superior?
Ooh. This is the thing that we need to... It's going to be a very hard decision. If we want lands, 5v5 is going to be extremely difficult to, I would say, almost impossible to get.
Yeah, I'd go with that as well.
ACL will not purchase additional consoles, additional monitors, additional mix amps to set up on a main stage when only one title supports it. It's unless we got 50, 60, 70 teams at every event, that would probably justify it then, but it's just not, it's not a LAN possibility. So 5v5, even if it is superior, we will have to decide on, do we want LAN events or do we want to have a really good online experience? And there will be, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it will make much difference between 4v4 and 5v5. I think 4v4 will still work really well, but we'll have to wait and see, play it, and then go from there.
In relation to that, what would, because I've had this question tweeted to me quite a few times now. Will there be a 5-player cap if it's 4v4? If not, and it is 5v5, what will the player cap be then?
I haven't thought about it for 5v5, so I don't know. I would say 5 or 6 or 7. So you've got, I mean, the more people you have in a team, the more people are likely to not be available. In terms of player caps, teams will be capped at 5 players. We won't have the same support for subs and that we have had in previous titles. This is partly because teams, well, as we saw after the last season of CGI ended, they were getting 9 or 10 people in a single team, and that's just a waste. What's the point in being in a team if you're only going to play a match once every 3 weeks when you could create a new team with half the people in that team and have a game that you play often? Like, it's, I can understand from a casual perspective, but find a team of casual players if you're only going to be that. But yeah, 5-person cap is what we're going to be aiming for.
I think that covers that one. Just looking at, before we get to the next one.
I've got a question.
Yep.
Just for someone who's posting, TP Amazer. Why do you think that? Have you played it? Have you got a valid optimistic about this? But why are you trying to be negative about the game prior to it coming out, feel free to answer in the chat and we'll read it later on. And Ronald McDonald, yes, we dressed up in shirts because we like to look presentable. It is an ACL stream. We're a professional group of people. Okay, you were going to say something, Mike, or should we move forward?
This has been answered, but I do want to read it out as well. With the balancing of retro and sort-off, might we see these implemented into the rule set? I believe you answered that earlier, saying we're trying to have everything in there first up, and then see what happens. But feel free to.
Yep, definitely. I want more people, more weapons to be available. I want things to. On there to be more diversity. Definitely. Yeah, definitely the way to go. Okay. Of course it's Made Max. What do you expect? When an event comes up, could a thread be made with different things the rest of the community could do? Graphics, Turbo does that reasonably often. Advertising through Xbox Live, YouTube, social networks, help with planning and organizing, etc. Myksta.
Take that one. With thread being made, it's how can I put this? With advertising, we tweet it out, we put it on Facebook. Feel free to tweet about it. Feel free to retweet it, like it on Facebook. It lets other people see it. It's one big network, and it helps us all. It helps spread it out. Like Twitter, Facebook, and our YouTube. In the last community comp, someone actually clicked on our channel through another video, went to a video I made about the community comp, and then signed their team up. That was just another completely random team that knew nothing about Cybergamer, knew nothing about competitive gears, and they signed up. Little stuff like that will help new players get on board. If you do have a YouTube channel that's somewhat successful, has subscribers, Twitter accounts, Facebook pages, feel free to post it. It all helps. As for planning, organizing events, we all try to work together. I know us three are in the loop with a lot of things, and with planning and organizing events, it's especially with an online round, it's relatively manageable. But any and all help will count. As the initial question, thread being made, I think that's just common. If we say we tweet it out, just go on and retweet it. That helps a lot. As for graphics, the only one I know in the Gears community that can make graphics to a standard that looks very presentable is Turbo. That's willing to put in the time and effort to make it tweaked to how we like it. That's and he does a great job at that. But if anyone else wants to put their name forward, feel free to hit one of us up and we'll see what happens.
Okay. As Metapod pointed out, messaging recent players is a fantastic tool at any point in time, regardless of if there's an event. If you jump in public, especially with Judgment, there's going to be hopefully lots of new faces around. You see someone that stands out. They look like they're positioning a bit better. They may not be the top of the scoreboard, but they look like they have a good little bit of foundation to their performance. Message them. Point them to CG, ACL. Point them to anything that's competitive. We want to grow. We want to get as many players that are playing the game into competitive. You see so many people who play public. I mean, usually most times when I go on, there's between 80 and 120 people playing Team Deathmatch. That is, 30 teams worth of 4 people that could potentially come over. At 5 people, you've still got so many teams that could simply be formed. If we message every single one of those players, I'm sure we'd get maybe 10%. That's 3 additional teams that are going to be coming on that we wouldn't already have, and they are people that are playing the game. That's the most important bit. We need people that are going to be playing, and we can't rely solely on the existing community that we do have be the support. We need to be out there. Is the ladder going to start out like Gears 3? One ladder, then CGI/CGO. I don't know yet. I would expect that we are going to run a single ladder to start with. It will probably be a turbo ladder, much like we did in Gears 3's original release. This will be there for a set period of time. We will figure that out sooner to the event, or sooner to the launch of the game. But we will most likely have a single turbo ladder purely there for rule settings, or for rule testing. And it will be there to speed things through, get as many matches played. Ideally, people will take to scrims outside of the ladders just so we can... that comment, no tricks. Great.
Just go on go and clarify what a turbo ladder is. Because
turbo ladder
joined after.
Yeah, turbo ladder is basically a way that you can challenge multiple teams multiple teams can be in this challenge at any given time. So, for example, Purity could challenge, what was Legacy, Malice, Rainbow, like any number of teams at any given time, and that just means the matches are flowing. They're very quick.
Wasn't there a cap to only challenge three?
I can adjust that, I believe.
Ah, okay. Yep. And there is also no forfeit penalty either.
Yeah, it's purely there just so you can play the game quickly, get matches. The ladder means nothing. It's just a way to organize the time to play with various teams. Yeah, that's how we'll start off. It will be set for a set period of time. We left it far too long, as Metapod pointed out. For Gears 3, that's my bad completely. But it will be set for, say, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It will be a very, very specific time frame. By the end of that, we will go with whatever rule set we're running there, and it will be the version 1 rules. That will be how we'll move forward to a more traditional CGO ladder. I imagine we'll run a single season of that, then move forward to a CGO-CGI combination.
Also, sorry about that, but just a bit off. I'm getting a couple messages on Skype. If you are trying to ask a question, I can't actually look at my Skype to check it, so either tweet it or post it in the stream chat, but I prefer if you tweet it at GalsandZ. That goes for anyone who wants to have their input and ask a question. That'd help out a lot, because I can't check my Skype, so I've got around 10 messages right now, so can't look at them. So yeah, continue on.
Okay. Do we have any tournament sponsors lined up? It has been something that I've been working on for months. I have contacted multiple organizations and companies to support us. Some have gone more than just a simple email with them saying, no, we don't care, or we're not interested. Some have gone a little bit further, but ultimately we haven't worked out something that has worked for both parties. Moving for judgment, we've got to wait and see how the game goes. Nothing has been confirmed prior. The community's at an all-time low, so it's very hard to sell value to any potential sponsors when we've only got a few active teams. They don't see, say we've got 10 teams, that's 40, 50 people that see their brand. Whereas when we've got 20 or 30 teams, that's a couple of hundred people. So it really just depends on how the game goes after launch, how many teams start playing it. Will Myksta's LOL role be accomplishable in Gears of War Judgment?
Can't believe that was an actual question, but I hope so. It better be. That's my signature move. If it's not in there, I'll be depressed. I have to learn how to do actually something useful.
Um, yeah.
I have a question as well. From the footage you have seen over since, whatever. Okay, I'm just going to cut that part out. From the footage you have seen, do you think domination looks like it will be viable as a game mode? If not, what happens if we have just TDM? I also want to expand and say how much is domination if it's viable.
I definitely think it will be a viable option. I love King of the Hill and I love competitive, object-based competitive gameplay. Um, it's There is so much potential for the game type. It just depends on the maps, and I really do think that it will work for the Gears of War series and the gameplay that I'm expecting to see from Judgment. Whether or not that actually works out or not, that's yet to be decided. We have to wait till the 19th of March before we can get people playing it and seeing how that's going to go. Clutch, I don't think there will be a bomb game type in the first DLC. From the research that I've done, I just don't think it's going to be there. I would love it. They've trialed it in Gears 3. I don't know what ever came from it, but there's definitely going to be lots of love given to Epic if they put out a bomb game type, as it will work fantastically.
Okay, there is another question which I'm going to sort of expand on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Halo has free-for-all tournaments. Will we see Gears free-for-all tournaments? The one that I want to expand on is, will we see a free-for-all ladder as well? Because that's two tweets just combining into one. So is there going to be some free-for-all action?
Free-for-all, definitely. Creating a free-for-all ladder is not really an easy way to do it. There's no ladder or free-for-all mechanic on CG that I've seen. It's purely either team-based or 1 versus 1. So it's free-for-all, definitely competitive play. I can see a lot of community-based tournaments where there's Microsoft points for first place, much like the Mercy Mondays or things. It's a way for... effectively, expanding on that idea, Mercy Mondays was far more popular than I ever expected it to be. When it was first announced, I don't like it personally. I just think it's stupid running into a church and
that's
shooting
why
one
you
dude.
only competed at the LAN.
Yeah. But free-for-all can work really well. It puts you in an environment that is much like you would face in a regular 4 versus 4 competitive environment. You are running around a map, you can pick up power weapons, you can basically use your individual smarts and skills to... It's a great way to showcase your skill, and there is a lot of talent to free-for-all, as various competitions have seen through Halo, especially Halo in the past at MLG and various online events. It is quite a prestigious thing to win. Really? Okay. Will you keep the Gears of War 3 ladder up for fun? Since we used to have Gears 1 and 2 running at the same time, wouldn't it hurt to have Gears 3 and Judgment side by side? I don't have any objections to keeping Gears 3 up. However, I can potentially see conflicts of interest between matches being scheduled in Gears Judgment, Gears 3 losing out, but it's definitely something that we can look into and discuss, keeping Gears 3 open. Otrix, it's very hard to make that call before the game has come out, just saying.
Also, just to put on that, they mentioned the COD ladders. Call of Duty has its old ladders going back from World at War through to now, but they're not active. They have, I'd say 10 teams per ladder, and there hasn't been a challenge in like 5 months at least.
Yeah,
Um,
and just like an example for that is if we have too many ladders up and running at the same time, it's sort of like what happened with Gears 3 with all the different game types. Like, when was the last time anyone's ever played a Capture the Leader Australian game in quick match? You know, if you diversify the community too much, you're just not going to be able to get a match going. So we'll be aiming to stick to as little ladders as possible.
and just comparing it to COD, when you have Call of Duty as an example, where you have literally thousands and thousands and thousands of players playing every day in Australia, it's really hard to compare the fact that that game has multiple ladders when Gears we have so few, such a fraction of their player base. It's, yeah, as Sam said, it just spreads everything too thin. What do we have? Any other questions, Mike, that you've seen on Twitter or whatnot?
There was a Mercy Monday sort of question, but you answered that earlier with free for all. It was, has any thought been put into a 1v1 Mercy Monday style ladder? I personally don't even think the maps could suit that. From just the way that their official trailers have looked, how big they are, I don't think that would work.
Yeah, it's probably not going to work well. The maps look far too big. They're designed for a team-based thing. Doesn't mean it won't, but I don't think it's gonna. It probably won't happen. Okay. Are you wanting to make the rule set for our community, or are we going to be following the EU-US rules? I've pretty much covered that previously. Just the second part of that, if so, what do you want to do differently from Gears 3, i.e. swaps, characters, and starting weapons? I didn't discuss characters previously. Because it's COG versus COG, I would like to start off with all characters being allowed, as long as you're a different character. I don't want to cut out females again because both teams have an even number of it. There is no disadvantage to Locust or Red team because the blue team can have more females. It's really, yeah, it's completely even from both sides of it. So we're going to try and keep that default.
Will we see a Gears of War 1 PC come back instead of Judgment? No, I don't think so, Westy. I don't think so.
Saying that, I'll definitely be down for some Gears 1 PC.
Oh yeah.
I don't even
Rogue,
know PC.
as long as it is by same character, you could be Jungle Tai and regular Tai because they look different. Just like in Gears 3, you could be Coltrane, Augustus Cole, Superstar Cole, and Thrashwall. They were all different skins. If they do bring out something similar to Gears 3, where you've got Commando Dom and Commando Dom LE, Savage Grenadier Elite and LE, and Cantus and LE, you can't duplicate in that because it's only a subtle color change. Something else just popped into my mind. There are now character skins in multiplayer. All of them will be allowed. There will be no difference to those cosmetic changes and things. It's purely going to be whatever goes. Okay.
So I have a question now as well. Just tweeted. So what's going to happen if Epic release a patch that allows for unlimited spectators? Also, who's going to be running the Crosby? Okay, I think there's another tweet that's coming there. But for the first part, so if they release a patch for unlimited spectators,
that'd be awesome. I think League of Legends does something where you spectate the game, but you have a delay, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
I think there was like a 3-minute delay on the live game, so effectively what Epic could do, they would need a huge... Oh no, probably not too much storage, but they could yeah, they could potentially just stream it out from there, but it would be unlikely to happen.
I think it's more unlikely considering that Gears is based on peer-to-peer hosting rather than with LoL and Dota. It's sort of like on a central server.
Yep.
So we don't exactly have the bandwidth to just throw away on uploading to, say, another 50
what I'd
clients.
imagine I'd have to do is you would have to effectively, well, I suppose Halo theater mode. A theater video file takes up a couple hundred kilobytes, like it's next to nothing. It's purely engine data. If they uploaded that to their server and then streamed it from there, that would be ridiculous. Or even just streaming that data to people. But I highly doubt that's made in the back end. It's not going to happen.
Even if they released extra spectator spots, and as Durkaa mentioned, is peer to peer, so that host would need to cater
Would
for
have
more
to have
people.
dedicated hosts to keep teams even. But if it, I mean, you look at some people can't even host 10 players. It's it just.
Can Midnite just use his connections to tell people can fly to put in-game stream abilities like Black Ops 2 has? Thank Westy for that question.
I'll just pull out my Gears 2 modding skills and mod it in. Sorry, mate. Good. Rogue. Okay. I've got a final question. If
Before
no one
you
else
answer, yeah, I have another one.
Yep,
Is there a possibility of having 4v4 overrun with 2 dedicated streamers on either side of the team? No. Unless well, actually,
no spectate mode.
yeah, it's been confirmed that there is no spectate mode. I was going to say, even if it is a 4v4 game type and you'd have your spectators there, it'd still be a bit tricky. But then again, I just remembered they did a release that there is spectator mode for only the free-for-all, TDM, and domination. So
Yeah. On a side note to that, George and I have looked into streaming two streams at once for the one game. But at the current state, I've pretty much put it down to implausible as if one of the streamers drops a couple frames, they fall back, and even just a 1 second delay between the streams and having the two of them on your screen is just going to be frustrating to watch. So yeah, we'll keep it at one at the moment, and if the technology's there and something can adjust that automatically through software, we'll definitely pursue that when it comes around.
Another tweet. Will we see something like a fixed starting weapon, e.g. 2 shotgun, 2 lancer, similar to Pro Mod? It is impossible to monitor. Well, not impossible. It's very difficult to monitor, especially in the heat of the game. If we did limit it to 2 lancers, 2 shotguns, there would be nothing to really stop team from changing up after they die. I mean, you could start off with 4 Nashes, you kill 2 of them, then they spawn back with Lancers, you'd have no idea that they had Nashes or whatnot. Like, it's just, I don't think it's a feasible option unless they somehow released the ability for us to set that in the host settings, much like you could on Halo. Yeah, I hope that covers that.
okay, now we just have Lucius just tweeting,
What's mate?
tweeting bait tweets.
Okay, another question someone had was, how much potential do you see this game having in the esports scene and why? You guys can go first.
I'll let Durkaa take that one first.
You go
between
first,
Silent.
Mike. I think I'm lagging.
Okay.
I think I'm lagging. Okay.
You stop lagging then. It's alright.
All right, cool. My main thought for judgment is if we don't get day 1 DLC maps or 30-day DLC maps, we'll get by. We'll get by in a similar fashion to how we did in Gears 3 with maps. I think we can still achieve a further expanded community to what we had at the peak of Gears 3. If we do have day one DLC and say they are of the same fashion in Gears 3, where they're more horizontally focused rather than in the current maps in Judgment, which are more vertically focused, meaning you look up and down to find characters. I think this game can go a long way. It can be absolutely huge. It's got the right formula there. In my eyes, we just need the maps to come and play, and we'll be good. Myksta?
Same thing about the maps, but I think even if there isn't a day one DLC, but the DLC comes relatively quick, maybe 2 weeks or something similar, we can make do. It won't be as good as having more maps on day one, but I reckon we can actually make do and make it work until we do get more maps. But I think we definitely will need more maps by a couple months in.
Yeah. Just to note on that as well, pretty much the peak of Gears 3 was, I'd say, a month or two after the final map pack was released, and pretty much all of the maps were still fresh. There was still hope that Epic was going to continue on. You know, there was word around on the forums, on the official Epic forums, that they were bringing back Gears 2 maps, Gears 1 maps. They were porting all of them over. Everyone was heaps happy. And then when they dropped the bomb that they were stopping development for Gears 3 and were moving on to Judgment, that's sort of when we went into that decline. So hopefully with DLC, it'll kick Judgment off in a similar fashion that Gears 3 did.
Yeah, I also would to touch on that with Gears 3. They actually said they were bringing, I think it was 20 maps from both Gears 1 and 2 back for Gears 3 at a point. I think this was just after the second map pack, and everyone got hyped. Everyone was voting on maps they thought would come back, and then we got the other map packs, and it was just like, okay, so this is the maps you have to stick with. Some people were like, okay, we want to drop these maps. The Americans actually really lowered their map count. I think to have about half of what we have.
Yeah.
And they made it work like that. And I think we need maps. We don't need, say, 50 maps in a cycle, but we need more than what is rumored to be coming out with.
Yeah, we just need a map pool that's big enough so that we can refine it to the maps that work 100% perfect for competitive play. Whether that's 10 maps, 15 maps, 5 maps, it doesn't matter. Just as long as we can get those perfect maps out there, we'll be sweet. George?
Just adding to the map discussion, one thing that is to note, the Gears 3 and Gears Judgment game engine is far closer in terms of build to what it was between Gears 1 and 2, or Gears 2 and 3. So the porting of old maps should be a far easier process. It doesn't mean they're going to, but it definitely has potential for us to see some of the old Gears 3 maps come through in a very similar manner. I don't know how that's going to happen, and because of the way that they're shifting to a more vertically focused maps, multi-levels, you can climb over pretty much every wall and whatnot. It's going to be an interesting one to see if they do bring back any of those old maps. I'd say that if you think about canals, for example, if you could just jump off any of the bridges as you feel like it, that'd be pretty badass.
Pretty funny.
As for how the game is going to work in a competitive sense, it has potential.